Welcome to the channel, everybody. So today I want to talk about what just released out. The Season 2 is coming for the Championship Series for Le Mans Ultimate. And I want to start off with the Season 1 recap of what kind of happened and what was the feel of the game, basically. BMW was the class of the field, with that being the most stable vehicle to drive in the GT3 and has the best force feedback of all GT3s. That was obviously the choice of the majority of people racing in the GT3 championship class. That was followed up with the McLaren, which I think is the second best car as far as stability. It has its tracks where the stability is not as great, but for the most part, it is probably the second best stability-wise, and it has good force feedback as well. Whereas the Ferrari and the Corvette, in my opinion, is lacking quite a bit. They have some really bad center of the steering wheel feels where you get quite a bit of left to right with no filling of the tires into the ground. If you've driven these cars, you know what I'm talking about. The scheduling was one of the problems that I had with the Championship Series, at least here in the United States. We started running out of player base towards the end of the championship. We started off wonderful. We had so many people racing that it really was phenomenal. And I think that player base left because of the force feedback issues and maybe some other things that are going on with the game as well. But for all in all, for the first championship, I think it went pretty well. But I do suggest that they may add some more time slots to the Thursday races or whatever, or keep it pretty well the same for every day instead of randomly having just one time slot for one race on a Thursday and then 3 or 4 on a Monday. Like, it just doesn't make sense. But that's one thing that I had a gripe with. And then we ended up missing 2 races because of the lack of time slots, and for the fact that at the end of the season I went to run the Le Mans race and there was only 3 of us that showed up, and we ran that race thinking that, hey, maybe they'll prorate some points or something because this is the only race I can get in, so I got to work the weekend. And unfortunately, I found out the hard way that you have to have a minimum of 5 people in the race in order for you to actually gain points. So at the end of that race, I basically did not gain any points, and that was very frustrating on my end because I was really trying to put in the time and the effort to make sure I made these races. So that was pretty well the sum up for the Season 1. Like I said, everything went really good. I thought the races were really good. There was some races that were a little bit rough, kind of like the one you're watching here on the screen. It was pretty brutal at the start of this race. Now, for Season 2, we have some scheduling changes. The classes are changing as well. The lineup now is that we'll keep that beginner GT3 class that has that 45-minute race for week to week with that 60-minute race at the very end. In my opinion, that was a smart move because that's a great beginner class, and that time slot works out really well as far as the time period of racing. The second class, however, we're not going to get that second GT3 class that used to be called the trophy class, which I think was very smart to get rid of. And then they added the Hypercar class. I think the Hypercar class will be a very popular one for the guys that are the guys and gals that are stepping up out of that bronze safety rating into that silver safety rating. And I really encourage people to move up those classes once you get to a silver, because we need more racers in the intermediate and the advanced racers as well, advanced classes as well. So when you level up, let's try to get into those classes. The intermediate class with the Hypercar for the second championship deal is going to be a 60-minute race week to week, with the last one being 90 minutes long. And I think that this is probably going to be fantastic, like I said. The other class is the multi-car class, which I believe was left over from last season, and that's a very smart thing to do. So now you can choose between your Hypercar or your GT3, which I think is a phenomenal thing. And this is going to be a 90-minute, I believe it's 90-minute week to week with a 120-minute last race. I will double check that, and if that is wrong, I will put that on the screen. So the multi-car class is a class that I will personally be running this time. And the reason being is now I have the safety rating for it, right? And I really want to run multi-class. I think it's more fun to have the GT3s out there with the hypercars, and this really makes it more or less just a harder deal to overcome, and it just makes it a little bit better. So the sad part is I felt like we were going to get an update before season 2, because as in most games, you know, you go from one season to the second season to the third season. Usually you have updates or some changes that are coming along. So sadly, there's no BOPs coming. There's no force feedback fixing. Even just the tightening up the center of the force feedback field in the other cars, like the Ferrari and Corvette, if they would just tighten that up in the center, that would be great, just to have something new coming along. No cars for GT3 are coming out. That was sad. I thought that those were going to be coming, but I guess that's getting later on in Q1. But for me, the force feedback was something that they could have just thrown the update in there, right? They could have just tightened it up. A lot of people were kind of wanting that, and I think that without that change, I think we may still see kind of a lower turnout than we did in the first championship. As far as improvements, the only thing I think that they really truly can improve on is from what I was just talking about, is the scheduling, adding some more time slots. I think in Central Standard Time in America, we really need a 5 p.m. and a 8 p.m. CST time slot on the weekends, and then we need on the weekends, and then on the weekdays we need a 3 p.m. CST and a 6 p.m. CST time slot for some of these races, so more people can make these races on a daily basis there for the USA people. And this pretty well wraps up my conclusion of Season 1 and Season 2 that's coming. I hope to see all of you on the track really soon. Peace out.